Hello, hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn, and I have a first look at some creative craft products, tools, and basic craft supplies. I've got these three are all things that I purchased, and I'm excited to give them a review, see how they operate day to day, and I'm going to exclusively use these in place of my current favorites as much as possible. And in a few months' time, after I've had a chance to work with these a little bit more, I'll come back with a more well-informed opinion as to what I think of these. The reason why I picked these up was because I feel like Creative Craft Products, ever since they've been putting out tools, well, first off, I just find them to be great value for money. If you watch my channel, you know that I'm a huge fan of their nested shape dies. I think they are the best value for money basic shape dies that you can get, and they have so many different designs. And I particularly love that they are supersized. They're really big, so you're getting a lot of dies for your money. And I just think that it's fabulous as it is, but very often, they put their stuff on sale 30, 40, 50% even. And then at that price point, I feel like it's just more opportunity to get people of different budgets into this hobby that I love so much. And so when they started to put out tools, a lot of the things that they have are things I already have in my stash, but they're so inexpensive, these in particular, that I decided I would buy them just for the purposes of reviewing them and seeing how they compare against my favorites. And so what I have here is the stamp platform and alignment guide, a mini scoreboard, and a stamping plate. And so what I'll do in this first look video is it's just an unboxing and an out-of-box experience, my very first experience. I'm not looking to actually make any sort of recommendation or come to any sort of conclusion about these products. Really, the goal is just to use it and give you my honest first impression. Oh, wow. That's surprising. There's an envelope maker on the back. I did not know that when I did not know that when I bought this. Wow. That's really cool. Okay, I guess we'll try to make an envelope also as part of the first. I didn't realize that, possibly because I didn't actually read the product listing. Whoops. But this, I don't have the Creative Craft products version, but I do have the Spellbinders one, and I suspect that many of these craft supplies you're gonna see them, in under multiple different brands, because I do believe that these companies are white labeling these products. And if that's the case, it really comes down to, if you're getting the same thing, the price. And I feel like Creative Craft Products, they price their supplies very reasonably, and as I mentioned, they often have sales. So, and then on top of all of that, if you are a VIP of Craft Stash, you get 10% off. So there's lots of savings. So this first look video, by the way, my first look videos, I just roll the camera and record. So if it's long, it's long. And I know not everybody has time to watch long videos, but I take as long as I need to take to kind of give this a first look and use all of these things for the first time. So I have this one is the stamping platform. Now this looks very similar, but it's different to the stamping platform that I really love, that is my favorite. I think it's probably, to be honest, I think all of these things are probably manufactured at the base of it by the same company. But I really don't have proof of that. I don't have knowledge of that. I'm just speculating. So let's first start off by having a little look at this. So, oh, this is not what I thought it was. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so this is very similar, but it's not what I thought. So I thought that this was really similar to the precision press, and I don't have the large version, but We Are Makers has a this is their like mini precision press, and so you can kind of see how small it is, but it works on a peg system, and then it's got these spring loaded legs. So the pegs are what register the top plate with the base, so that if you need to stamp something multiple times, in theory, that's what's going to ensure that this is accurate every single time. Now, when I saw from the product listings that there were these pegs on the side, I actually thought, because I didn't look super closely at the product photos, I thought that these pegs were where this top plate actually registers, but this top plate really only registers on these four corners. So you can kind of see that corner and that corner. Those are the only pegs that this sits into. These are spring loaded, and this does have spring loaded. That's one of the things I do actually really like about my stamping platform, because it is on these spring-loaded legs, so you can put this all on here and then have one last final sneaky peek preview of what you're stamping, and before you stamp, and then you can decide to go. Now this also has a second plate. Like, I guess you would use this if maybe you were just gonna do a small sentiment, and that's weird. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. So it's got spring-loaded feet, and then on this side here, it has two holes in the clear plate, and you can put that anywhere, like anywhere in these pegs here on the side. So these pegs here are for this. There's a little bit of give, which means that we'll see how precise I can, if I can stamp the same spot multiple times. So one thing that you'll find if you're familiar with other stamp positioning tools is that a lot of them have something cushy that you can stamp into. This is just hard plastic, so it'll be interesting to see how stamping on this compares to, say, stamping it in the Misty or the stamp wheel, because those have a squishy surface to stamp into. And actually now, with so many different types of stamp positioning tools, I'm actually going to try to do a comparison video across the various different types of stamp tools that I have now. That'll be months from now, because I need to actually give all of them fair use before I come to any sort of conclusions. Okay, so I think I have a set of stamps that I've been using for all of my stamp positioning tool first look videos of late. So for fair comparison, I'm just gonna do the same thing. So I've got these two sets, and then for solid stamping, I have that one. So what I'm gonna do is we'll start with the stamp positioning tool. And I think I'm gonna use the bigger plate here. And you know what? Because I'm doing a first look of multiple different products, I will bookmark the this video so that if you're only interested in one of these, you can just skip straight to the one that you're most interested in. So let's get some cardstock to stamp onto. I think I'm gonna use... Okay, so here's this. Let's cut this down. Oh, this isn't quite... Oh, this isn't quite A2, so let's make this A2. So then the interesting thing about this is that, oh yeah, there's like no way to... Okay, so, now there's this right here, these raised little sort of pegs, like they're very small. That's something that you can butt your cardstock up against to the left, but there's nothing top and bottom. This can kind of slide wherever, and so there isn't like a clear registration point for you to position this. Like you can't put it into a corner, and that way if you needed to take it out and put it back into that same corner and stamp again, you would be assured that you're putting it into the same spot. So because of the lack of that, so I'm gonna go ahead and just put some blue tape down here, and this will... Now I do want this to be square. So this is something, this is sort of like an extra step that you wouldn't really need to take if you were using something like the Misty. So bear that in mind. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, square this ruler up as best I can. The pegs on this side are in the way, but that's okay. I think I can, if I get this top part straight, that'll probably be good. Okay, so that's gonna give me something, a little bit of extra thickness here, so that if I need to, I can always push it till it hits the tape, and then push it all the way to the left till it hits the pegs. And that'll be how I register in case I need to remove the panel and then stamp again. Now, of course, you could always do something like put a little bit of, temporary adhesive on the bottom, and then you can put it wherever you want to put it, right? So that works fine. There are no magnets. I'm just realizing there are no magnets. Oh, that's so weird. Okay, I gotta say, I'm not liking that aspect. So, is it magnetic at all? It is magnetic. Huh. Did I miss the magnets? Let me see if it was in the box and I maybe just didn't see it. There's nothing back here. Nothing in the bag. Huh. It says it should come with 2 magnets. Mine didn't come with 2 magnets. Okay. I will be writing into Craft Stash, so am I just not seeing it? This is the bag. Okay, well, I will write into Craft Stash, let them know that my stamping platform did not come with magnets, and so we'll see. Usually their customer support is really good, so so we shall see on that. All right, so what I'll do, it advertises that it should come with 2 magnets, so I just zoinked 2 from my stamping platform, and I'll just use those for the rest of this test. So I'll still continue to do the first look. We'll just assume that, you know, if you're gonna buy one, that it will come with everything that the box says it should come with. So now sometimes this happens. It's not the end of the world unless customer support is not really good at responding. So I have always found that I get really good response from Craft Stash, and I'm not really like an affiliate or a brand ambassador. Well, I am part of their affiliate program, but I'm not like on their design team or a brand ambassador. They've only kind of offered, because I asked, some tools for me to review. And so let's see how this works. Let's see. So I'm gonna ink this with my favorite VersaFine Onyx Black. I think this is what I've been using for all of my tests so far. And what I've been doing when I've been reviewing these stamp positioning tools is I'm trying hard to actually get this to stamp really well just the first time. So I'm not going to try to do any bad inking. I'm going to try to really get good coverage on this stamp set, this large stamp. And I'm going to try to get good pressure when I go to press this down. I mean, ideally, you want to be able to have a stamping platform that just works good the first time, and then you don't have to worry about having to stamp multiple times. So here you can see that this hasn't actually made contact with my paper. I mean, I see my paper hovering a little bit up, so, you know, it might be making some contact, but the stamp is actually hovering above the paper. And then I'm going to just use a pressure tool to give it, this is, I think, what I've been using for everything that I've reviewed lately. Oh, that's not great. I see ghosting. See in the center? I mean, for one, it's not really well stamped, the impression. But for another, you can see the double lines. So let's try that again. I'm just gonna flip to the back of this, and I'm gonna give that another go. And let me see if, now I was sort of circular motion swirling. Let's see what happens if I just, with my hands, take it straight down. So this is why I don't really love the peg system. Now with the precision press, I saw some folks leave some comments that they really love this, so I'm gonna give this a fair shot and try to give this a try. This at least has pegs on 2 lengths, and so that might actually help it to register a little bit better, where this just has the 2 pegs in the corner as registrations for this large plate here. And so I think there's a lot of play. And this is kind of why I prefer the hinge stamping platforms like the one I have and like the Misty. The Altenew stamp wheel really impressed me. I didn't think that would stamp as precisely as it does, but it really does. So that one works really well also. Okay, so what I'm going to do differently this time is, instead of circular motion with this, all I'm going to do is push straight down, hold, and just with my hands and palm, try to give really good pressure. It's not going to be super even, but it's going to be at least just straight down. One press down. Okay, there we go. That's much better. See, this is much, much better. It's not only is it better in the sense of it's a more complete impression, but also it's actually crisper. You don't have the double lines. In the center there, I think there's a little bit that's not super solid, but if you look all the way around, it's pretty good. This was the first time. See the ghosting? And I think that ghosting is because I was just using this and kind of in a circular motion, and I think it was actually moving the plate a little bit in that circular motion. So I actually happen to still have some of the test ones. So if you want to see, this was from the stamp wheel. So you can kind of see by comparison, like how it compares with the stamp wheel, which I think really performs really, really well. If it weren't so large, I think that's the thing that for me has been a little bit of a struggle, because it's a little bit on the big side. Okay, so I'm just gonna wipe this. We'll see, cleans really easily. And I saw some fuzzies on this, so I'm just wondering if my stamp is actually maybe not as clean as I would like. Oh, actually, you know what? Apologies in advance. I'm just gonna make this video a little bit longer still. I just used the spray bottle, which is Spellbinders, but I actually bought one from Craft Stash also. Okay. This is what I have from Spellbinders. And since we're cleaning stamps, let's just go ahead and bring this out. Curiously, they're very similar looking. Again, I really think these are white labeled. So if you're not familiar, white labeling is a legitimate business practice. It's business to business. So it's one business that manufactures a product, and then instead of choosing to sell it under their own brand, they let other companies just brand it however they want. These are not identical, so I don't think that they are white labeled. I already see differences. So when something is white labeled, it's exactly identical, and the only difference will be where it's branded. It will carry a different brand. These look similar, but they are different. So it's not as tall. The spray nozzle up here is different. Even the mechanism down here is a little bit different. And the uptake tube looks similar. This also has like a 2-part uptake tube. So let's fill this with water, and I'll start using this. Okay, so I'm just gonna fill this with plain tap water, which is all I use to clean my stamps most of the time. So I kind of like the clear bottle though, so that you can see how full or how empty it is. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's start using that. So again, I do not believe this is white labeled, but so this, at least not with what the Spellbinders bottle is, which is my main point of comparison, because they are very similar looking. Okay, so I've cleaned that, and what I want to do next part of my test is I do want to Now try to stamp this twice and see how accurately I can stamp in the same position. So let's have another bit of cardstock here. Put the magnets down. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to ink this up, but I'm not going to ink it well. I will intentionally ink this in a spotty way so that, let's say you tried to ink it, you missed some spots, and then you have to go in and ink it again, but you want to hit the exact same spot. So now I know I'm not going to use my pressure tool because, you know, that gave me problems just with the single attempt. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press down and pretend I'm really trying to do this right. So straight down, straight up. And so you can see, did not do a perfect stamping. Perfectly okay. Now I'm gonna try to go back in, ink this up better, and then straight down again and see, am I gonna get any of that ghosting? Or will this land precisely in the same spot? Because that's what we're looking for, is to be able to ink multiple times or stamp multiple times in precisely the same spot. So I'm gonna put that on, straight down. Then just try to press all over. Okay, straight up. Let's see. Well, in terms of precision, pretty better than expected, to be honest. So, if you look, there's actually, maybe there's a little bit of ghosting. Maybe a smidge. Like, right. I mean, would you consider that a little bit of ghosting? I mean, it still didn't press completely or stamp completely here. But to be honest, I don't really actually think there's much ghosting. There's some fuzziness. And that's either my paper or maybe the stamp. Well, the stamp should be pretty clean. So it could be the paper. But if we're just talking about, did it stamp the same spot precisely without ghosting, I'd say it did. So let's try to ink up that spot specifically and see if we can go in a third time and really get this to be a nice full complete image. So third time's the charm here. All right, so let's go put it on the peg. It hasn't touched the paper just yet, so this is the trouble spot right here. All right. Now, part of stamping into like a squishy mat is what's going to help you get a better impression. So stamping into something firm like this, now that time I did get ghosting. Very obvious ghosting too. So no questions asked. You can see the double line. All of this has double lines. So this is why I don't like peg systems. Okay, so I would say this is not the best just from initial. Oh, that's nice. Okay, you kind of have to pump it a little bit just to get the uptake tube to start taking water, but it sounded like a very fine mist, which is really nice. I'll come up with something to do like a more side-by-side comparison of the two misters, but that was a really nice fine mist. All right, so I feel like for a $9, because this is only $9, One of the things that is always a concern when you buy products is sometimes you get what you pay for, and other times, what you're paying for is, what you're being charged is a lot for something that, maybe you could buy something that's equivalent and for less money get the same functionality. So what camp does this fall into? Now, I will say this appears to be a white labeled product that I have seen other brands sell something that looks very similar. I don't make any claims that I'm for sure positive of. I'm just saying that there are other products that look very similar. And when I see multiple products under different brands that look similar to each other, my first guess is that it might be the same product, just white labeled. And so if that's the case, like I said, what you're really comparing isn't really the functionality of the tool, it's the price, because that's really the only difference. And so I have seen this for a lot more being sold at by other, or something similar, I should say. I have to be careful with my phrasing. I have seen similar products that look the same but are a lot more expensive than the $9 I paid for this. So here's a fun, interesting tool. So this has like this little smaller stamping plate, and it's great for something like a sentiment. So if you were gonna mass produce a card like this, kind of interesting, because you could put, just like how I have it, you could put your focal image onto the larger plate and then put your sentiment onto this smaller plate, and then stamp it out in stages. And that's kind of cool. This does have lines on here, which is kind of nice because I can see this is a little bit crooked. So I like that the stamping plate has lines on it, so you can do this like a final little adjustment. And just like before, this first time, I'm gonna try hard to do this well. So I'm gonna ink it well. I'm not gonna try to do anything fancy or test anything. Ideally, I just want this to work well the first time, so I don't actually have to stamp a second time. And I think I got too much ink on that part right there. I'm just gonna, I'll wipe that off and ink again. Let's get this to be a good test. It just might be the stamp. The stamp seems to be picking up a lot of ink there. Okay. So I'm gonna put this into these pegs. All right, straight down. And straight up. Not bad. Okay, so I wasn't going for that. I did miss the H there, but let me hold this up so that you can kind of see. It is pretty clear. I think the Wish had some, like, a little bit too much ink, and I must have nudged it a little bit, so it's also not super straight. But let's see if I can get that H. Oh, see? Well, that was a bummer. I just got ghosting. That pretty bad ghosting. You can see that. You can see the double image on that left side, because all I was trying to do is just to get the H that I missed. So, ideally, it's nice when you don't have to work at your tools for them to actually kind of do, what they're designed to do. I think if you were really careful and with your motion, going straight down, straight up, you could get it to stamp precisely in the same spot, but you have to be careful and very mindful with your movement and your actions. And it's the same reason why I don't prefer the Crafter's Companion stamping platform. It's got the same sort of kind of, I think it's not even a peg system. Theirs is like a little well that the spring-loaded feet sit into, and I don't love it because there's give. So I feel like this peg system, registration system, it's not the best for precision stamping. And then, stamping onto a hard surface is not giving like a nice crisp, clear impression. So I would say overall this is not really performing up to snuff. And I think you can get good impressions off of it because, I mean, we got a couple of good impressions, but, like that was the second attempt. That's pretty good. So if you're going to be patient and mindful and thoughtful about how you're using this, then I think you can get it to work and it would stamp nicely. It's got the potential to. But if you kind of, like to craft a little bit faster, you maybe don't have all of the patience to really get everything just perfect as you're trying to create your stamped images. I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be tough because I think you have to be very intentional to use this and get good results from it. Now, having said that, this is my first time using it, and any new tool does take some time to get used to because, you're used to the thing that you're used to, and so when that changes, it just takes a little bit of time to get used to something different. So let's see if I can. All right, so I'm gonna use just this little plate. See how I can wiggle this? That's why there's some give in the sense of like, why you're sometimes if you push and you're like pushing more like up versus more down. And look, I can wiggle it this way too. So all of that, so it's only registered on these 2 points. At least with the Crafter's Companion one, it's registered in the 4 corners. In the case of the Precision Press, it's registered along 2 edges. So this only having the 2 points of registration means like there's a fair degree of wiggle room there. And that's why it's going to be hard if you're just like a casual, you want to go fast and not really have to think about what you're doing. I think it's going to be really hard to be that precise in your and like consistent in how you're using the tool. Because the tool itself doesn't build, it allows for that sort of error. Whereas if you have a tool that doesn't allow for, those errors just because of how it's been designed, then you don't have to think about it. So I'm going to use the same inks that I used for my previous tests. So we'll see how this handles solid stamps. And if you want to check out some of the other stamping platforms that I have reviewed, you can check out my product review playlist. It's got all of the products that I review on my channel. And in particular, I did a first look at the Stamp Wheel 2.0. I did a first look at the Misty. And in the Misty review, I actually compared it against the Hinge stamping platform that I have and love and have used for years and looks very similar to this, except that it's actually operates on a hinge. That did pretty good. That's solid stamping. Not bad. Okay. That's I probably sound more surprised than I should. But that did pretty well. Okay, so let's line this up. And okay, I'm not right. My head isn't right over top of this. Let me see if I can. Okay, I think that's better. And then that. Now this is number 2, but I'm going to use the same color, and it's just going to darken some spots of that. I only have 3 colors of the Altenew pinks, and so this is how I'm going to stretch a little bit and get 4 layers of colors from 3. 4 layers of the stamp from 3 colors of ink. Straight down. Not bad. And with a stamp like this, if it's a little bit kind of off, it's not the end of the world. I think because the design lends itself a little bit to this being a little bit more abstract almost. And so, I'm not too worried if this isn't like perfect, but I am trying to get it to stamp really well just the first time, just so that we can see how this does with solid stamps. And I would say so far, even though we're stamping onto a hard plastic, it's actually doing pretty well. So this is my second shade of pink. It's going to be visually darker, a lot darker. And that was the same ink color, just stamped out twice. So parts of it is a little bit darker, but it's not super high contrast. So this will be layer number 3. Oh, nice. Okay, I positioned that kind of off, but it's stamped pretty well. So for this this portion of the test comparison, I think it's actually doing pretty well. The solid stamping I'm surprised actually that this is doing as well as it is, considering it was so imperfect. Like the middle portion of the flower that I stamped out earlier was not perfect. But this is doing really good. Okay, so let's pick this up. This will be the last layer and will be the 3rd color. And then what I'll do is I'll just try it one more time, but with this solid stamping or solid stamp, to see if I can do precision multiple stamps in the same spot. All right, so there's that. Pretty good. I think this did pretty well. Let's stick with that stamp. I'll just turn this. And what I'll do is all right, I'm just going to stamp what was left over. Okay, so there's that. So now what I want to do is maybe try to darken that a little bit. So let's see if I can go over that a second time with the exact same stamp. And let's see if we get any ghosting. I'm going to try to really get this. I'm going to focus. I'm not going to be careless and, just go fast. I'm going to try to actually do this in a very intentional way. So nope, this was off. So you can see it's like a drop shadow, but you can see how off it is. I did try. It's not for lack of trying. I am trying to like have that same straight up and down motion, but yep. So I would say in terms of a stamping tool, it's serviceable on first impressions. Did my paper move? Hold on. Did my paper... Let me try that again. I don't think my paper moved. Did it? Let's try. So let's say we went in with like a light pink and then I was like, oh, that's too light. I want to go in with a darker pink. So let's do that. Straight down. And then we'll say I changed my mind and I want to darken that up. So I'll go ink this in a darker ink. But I want to go right over top that. So put this back in and go straight down. Okay, I don't know. Maybe that first time my paper moved. Because this is pretty good. There's like a smidge of ghosting. Just a smidge. You can kind of see. Like, see that? And then right there. So it's not perfect. But it wasn't quite as off as that first time. I think that first time somehow the paper shifted. But to be honest, that's also a problem, So if the magnets don't hold it down tightly and there isn't anything else holding it down securely, there's a lot of variables when you're trying to stamp in the same spot multiple times, and a good tool will reduce those variables and make it so that it's less likely that you'll have user error. So with this, is it possible to do multiple precise stamping? I would say it's possible. Is it easy and effortless? First impressions is no. And can you get a good stamped image from it? I think you can. But I do think that it takes a little bit of getting used to, and that you might also, again, just have to be kind of careful with how you're operating the tool. And I'll definitely, like I said, once I've had a chance to use all of the various stamping platforms that I'm currently reviewing, I'll do kind of a showdown and summary conclusion where I talk about which ones I like and for what reasons. But that's my initial thought on this particular stamping platform. And I'll put it into the rotation of stamping platforms that I use. So I'm mixing it up between this, the Misty, and the stamp wheel. So that's this. Now let's take a look at the scoring tool here. And this is cute. It's pretty compact. I did not know that at the time I bought it that you could make an envelope. So I'm going to try to make an envelope as part of this review. Okay, so let's just get a card base here, and I don't know that there's a ton to really compare in terms of the scoring, but let's see. In terms of just the facts of this, it's about 6 3/8, just shy, 6 3/8 wide by 8.5 tall. That's a nice small footprint, great for you know, maybe scoring 5 by 7. Certainly, you know, will score an A2. You've got your scoring tool kind of built into here. So you just slide that, and that comes off, and then you just put it back into the slot here, and then slide to lock it in place. Okay, so pretty simple. It's nice it's built in so that you hopefully don't lose it. It's not too teeny. I find this interesting. The fact that there's like a curved, more blunt end, and then there's one end that's like a little bit more pointy. And I'll tell you why I actually appreciate that. I mean, I don't know if that's why this is why they've designed it, but a lot of times when I'm scoring thicker cardstock, I actually go back in with something like this, like a ball stylus tool that is smaller and can really get deeper into the grooves and score a deeper line. And so I think that's going to serve that purpose for me. So I would like that. In terms of measurements, you have inches going across the top and the left, and you have centimeters going across the right and the bottom. So you do have measurements in both, but it looks like it's a little bit geared towards the US measuring system. And so let's just score. This is 100 pound. It's already cut to half sheet of US letter. So if I want to make a card base, I would just score at 4 1/4. Now, all of the markings, all of the measurements, it's actually kind of engraved or molded into the plastic. So that's not going to like rub off or fade over time. It might be hard to see though, because it hasn't been filled in like with a different color plastic or anything like that. So it's just the same color as your base. And so, you know, that might make it a little bit harder to read those measurements, but to be honest, that's not too dissimilar to a lot of other scoring boards. Oh, this is nice. Oh, guys, this is really nice. Okay, so guess what? This, look at these grooves. It's straight through. So usually, like on my scoreboard, so like, okay, you guys have seen me use this, my all-in-one. See how it's solid up here? So like to really get it into, you know, the right track, it might present a little bit of a challenge because it's solid up here. Whereas this, I can get like a really good score up all the way at the top edge, because look, I can actually start scoring up here. And then, you know, score, where's 1 1/4? Here. And then score like through that track. That's cool. I like that. So here's another scoreboard, just so that you can see another one for comparison. See how that's nice and legible, but that's painted on, you know, in black. So it is legible, but it can actually rub off or fade over time. This is like my first scoreboard, so I've had this it's ancient. I've had it for a really long time. But you can kind of see, like, is it hard to get like right into the right score track? No, it's not hard. But if I had paper butt up against here, and I have my scoring tool here, if you look, you know, I'm not really scoring all the way off the edge of that paper. It's such a minor thing, right? It's not a huge difference, but it's these little things though that I feel are nice. You know, it's nice when you have a tool that's well designed. Now, what I would appreciate is if this had some feet so that it's not slipping and sliding all around. If you look at my large one, see it's got these felted pads here, which is nice because then on your surface, it's not going to slide around. So I think it would have been nice to have that. So now let's actually score something. Okay, so 1 1/4. And then you can score right off of both edges. You guys, I really like that. Okay, so now let's see how accurate is this. So if let's use my steel ruler and we'll measure. Oh, that's not 1 1/4. Do you see that? Oh gosh. Guys, it's more like oh my gosh, it's like 1 3/16. Oh, that's surprising. I mean, it looks like it lines up pretty okay. 4 1/4, and then if you look at where that lines up with my ruler, I mean, it's not exact, but it doesn't look as off as it does when I measure this. Because let's see what happens. So if I fold this, oh yeah, guys, I felt how off it was. Look at, okay, folks. Let's see. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that again. Maybe it was user error. I hope not, but let's do my scoreboard. I've actually never measured after I've scored before, so this 4 1/4. I mean, those nice to haves are nice to have, but you kind of want the the main functionality to work. Okay. Let's measure this. So just like I did with my other one, you know, 4 1/4, pretty dead on. And if we fold, look, it's perfectly centered. Okay, I'm gonna try again. And by the way, I cut all of these at the same time with my cinch stack cutter, so fairly certain they're all the same. Okay, I don't know what I did that first time, but let's just try again. I mean, there could have been user error. Let's find out. Okay, so got another half sheet. It's in here. It's all the way to the left. I mean, this only has, you know, the tick marks are 1/8 of an inch. So I don't know how I got 4 3/16. Unless this wasn't all the way pushed to the left, but it is. See, it's boom, all the way to the left, all the way flush to the top. So 4 1/4. Okay. I'm nervous. Okay, Well, I don't know what I did that first time. This is much better. Phew. What did I do that first time? Okay. Yeah, I don't know what I did that first time. Perfect. Nice and perfect. Okay. Way better. Oh goodness. I was worried. I was like, how is it possible that a scoreboard could be that off? Okay, so let me do this one more time. And I'm gonna try the other end. I'm really intrigued by that. I think this other end, it might actually be for doing this stuff, you know, like because you would use a ball stylus for if you wanted to kind of deboss these designs into, say, some vellum or something like that. But since I use my ball stylus for scoring, let's see if I could do that here. So here's what I would normally do. I would normally use the scoring tool that's provided, and I score the one time, and then I would go back in. So that gives me one nice, track. That paper's already softened. And then I would take my ball stylus, the one that I just showed you. You've probably seen me do this in my videos too. So I'm going to go into that same track. Oh, look at that. It really does a good job of deepening that score line. I really like the fact that you can run this off the top edge too. It's such a small thing, but so that makes it a little bit easier to fold, and it gets you a crisper line. So yeah, this is pretty good. Okay. Phew. I don't know what I did that first time, but that was just a fluke, everybody. Nothing to see. This all worked beautifully. Okay, let's try out this envelope maker. So it looks, by the way, this is the back of the packaging, and this is the only instructions. Oh no, you have the how-to here, so that's good. And I will use this punch, but the Spellbinders one, because that's what I have. So I've got that. I'm just going to use some copy paper. Okay, so select card size and trim paper to correct size. Align paper to scale mark and score. Rotate 90 degrees. Align the score mark with scoring guide, then score. Repeat 4 through 5. Repeat 4 through 5. I mean, they didn't really number these steps, but okay. Cut the notch and corner, fold and glue. All right, so we want to make an A2 size envelope. So if we're making an A2 size envelope, that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 A2. So you want to start by 8 with a sheet of paper that's 8 by 8. That sounds familiar. And the scale marking is at 3 1/2. So let's get this cut to, oh, I can't cut 8. Let's cut this first to 8 by 8. Okay. Oh, you know what? Let's just compare some things. So my all-in-one tool has a envelope maker too. So 4 1/4 by how is it they don't have 4 1/4 by 5 1/2? They don't have A2 on here. That's a little bit strange. Yeah, so this doesn't even have A2. They have 4.5 by 5.5, which is kind of strange. I know this has an envelope maker, and it has A2 very clearly defined, and it's the same things. So again, this is kind of the same, kind of color, so it might actually be a white labeled by the same manufacturer. Who knows? Okay, so what do we have to do? Trim the paper to correct size, done. Align paper left to scale mark. And score. So align this to the left. So what does that mean? Does that mean you do, because it says 3.5. So if I were to align this at 3.5, do I just put the bottom edge at 3.5? I think so. I think I just put this bottom edge at 3.5, and then I score 3.5. Okay. I think I'm scoring that line. Okay. Rotate 90 degrees, align the scored mark. That's what we just scored with the scoring guide, which is here. So this is your scoring guide here. So we want to put the previously scored line on that number is, and this is pretty standard for envelope makers. That first number is just for the first score line, get you started. So then all of your next ones are going to be aligned to that. Although this should be 3.5, and it is. So far so good. Nice. And then rotate. And it does have like a little lip here, so that when you butt your paper up, it can butt on both edges. So that's what keeps it nice and keeps your paper nice and square. And so that looks good. Okay. Cut the notch and corner with scissors or punch. Okay, so let's see if this will actually, oh yeah, this will punch. So I should be able to notch this. Look at that. So you just line this up like these two plastic flaps here. You just line that up with your score lines. Like that. Get it right in the corner there. And it helps to just take some excess paper out of that so that when you fold these over, you don't have a lot of I'll leave one not notched out so you can see. If you've never made an envelope, that might not be completely obvious why a tool like that is helpful. So I'll show you the difference if you have it versus when you don't. So there's that. And then you would just fold all of these, and then you can do corner rounding with that as well if you want to like make this pretty, for example, and make this. These are the two that are going to be visible. The other corners, not so much. Okay, see how when you fold these two corners over, there's not like a lot of overlapping paper. Whereas this corner here, I didn't take that out. So when I fold this over, I have that. And then if I try to fold this over again, I'm gonna have a bunch of this extra cardstock here in this corner, and it just bulks up that corner, and it makes it so that it doesn't really look nice for one, but you know, it's not as like flat. So having this notching tool is really nice. Just takes out that little triangle. So now when we fold this over, we don't have this bit of excess paper in that corner. And everything folds a lot flatter, looks a lot neater, and voila. So you've got your A2 size envelope. We just scored A2 card bases, and in theory this should fit in just fine, and it does. So okay, that worked out pretty well. To seal this, all you would do is put, I'm just gonna use some double-sided, oh no, I'm gonna use some double-sided adhesive tape, although my tape runner got a little bit off. So I'm not sure what happened. It must have snagged on something. So put a little bit of adhesive there and a little bit of adhesive here. And then you can put it on this outer edge too, just if you really want to make sure it's sealed well. And then be careful. I put a little bit too much adhesive. It went a little bit far. You just don't want to put adhesive on this top triangle portion here. Just where these two, the side and the bottom panel overlap, that's where you want adhesive. And there you go. So you have your custom envelope. You can make these with, you know, colored paper if you have it. I would choose something lightweight because, you know, your envelope's going to count against that 1 ounce that you get as a maximum for shipping with one stamp. So I like this. I think this is really nice, convenient if you travel, if you go to crops, if you go to you know, craft virtual, or not virtual, but in-person craft events and stuff. This would be certainly a lot easier to pack than say my 12 by 12. Although, you know, to be honest, if I were traveling, I would be probably inclined to maybe bring my all-in-one tool because it's my paper trimmer too. But it is kind of nice to have this. And actually, if I think about it, this set of things, like this small little trimmer, this small little scoreboard, you know, that is a smaller footprint than my all-in-one. So this actually might not be a bad combo for crafting on the go. Okay, the little scoreboard, a big win. I would not have expected a small mini scoreboard to also have the envelope maker on the back as well. That was a really nice surprise, and it all works well. A little bit of user error my first time, but it works just fine, I think. So that, I think, is good. Now the other thing that I wanted to test is this, but you know, I might just use this in some upcoming videos and not do necessarily a first look at it. But I'll open it just so that we can see what it is. So this is a it's a 5x7 stamping plate, and I don't really know necessarily from the listing. It doesn't sound like it's from the same materials as a jelly plate, but what I'm gonna do with this, so maybe I'll just save this for a separate first look, but what I'm gonna do with this is I am going to try mirror stamping, because somebody suggested that this would be good for mirror stamping. It's used a lot, if you watch the Craft Stash channel, it's used a lot in for like inky techniques. So you can ink this and then create some nice fun effects, and then ink your stamp, picking up the ink from here, and then stamp onto your paper. And so it'll be interesting because this isn't quite as thick as like the jelly plates that I have. It's maybe an eighth of an inch. Yeah, it's an eighth of an inch thick, and I don't know that it's the same materials either. It doesn't feel like it's a photopolymer stamp. It does feel a little bit squishy, like a gel plate, but we shall see. So I'll play with this in upcoming videos, but we'll just leave that out of this video for now. So just stay tuned for this to just kind of come into some videos as I play with it and explore it a little bit. Okay, so I think that wraps up my first look at the stamping platform, the little mini scoreboard and envelope maker, and their water mister, which I actually really like. I'll do a more head-to-head comparison with the Spellbinders version that I have, but so far this is a really nice mister. It's quite nice. So that's all I've got for today. I'll leave links to everything in the description box below if you want to check that out for yourself. And as I play with these products more, you'll be seeing them in my card making videos. And once I feel like I've had kind of enough time using these to form a more, to have a better informed impression based off of personal experience, I'll come back with another sort of a conclusion video and let you know my final thoughts on it and how I think it compares against some of the other things that I'm used to using in my craft room. But for now, I'm actually going to replace what I use for these various different functionalities with these tools, and we'll see how I do after a couple months. Thanks again, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.